Good morning and welcome to the Failure to Stop podcast. This is the number one show for big law enforcement case breakdowns, breaking down the biggest cases of the week. Today, though, again, very strange happenings. The big case for this week is obviously the Epstein files and the Epstein list. And there's a lot of talking heads. There's a lot of social media influencers, quote unquote, that are talking about this. But what's law enforcement saying about it? What's the law enforcement side of things? That's what I want to talk about, not the same old thing that everybody else is talking about, which is very important, by the way. I'm going to talk about that as well. But I want to talk about this from a law enforcement perspective on what exactly is going on with this Epstein list and why it is so important right now for you to be in touch, that you are in the know about this and that you can articulate this to other people because it is extremely important. Before we do that, before we jump into today's case, I have a couple of case updates. We covered a case 3 weeks ago. And this was the case about the pardoned January 6er who was pulled over and then shot by police. The body camera footage hadn't been released yet, but it was the big trending news. There was a lot of conspiracy talk going on, like, but then I cleared the air. That's what we do on Failure to Stop. We're unbiased. We don't really have an agenda. And so I showed you that this guy had a history of making terrible decisions. And of course, he made terrible decisions on January 6th, but this guy had multiple DUIs. I think we took a poll, if I remember correctly, in the live chats on how many DUIs that we thought he had. I think it was 7, if I'm not mistaken, from that episode, but he had already had 7 DUIs. This guy lost his license, and he had a slew of other charges. And so I predicted, and I said, we're gonna have to wait till the body camera footage comes out. But from everything that we've read, and we broke it down, I said more likely than not, this is not a conspiracy theory. This guy probably did the FAFO, effed around, and he found out. That body camera has been released, so I'm going to play that body camera and that body camera footage, and we'll see, was I right 3 weeks ago in my Tantradamus prediction of that case? We'll find out here shortly. And then I also want to talk about the project that we have coming here to Failure to Stop with Cameron Santana from True Crime Santana, also the author of the book. Let me bring it up for you really quick. A Murder on Campus, the professor, the cop in North Carolina's most notorious cold case. Now, they have, since writing this book, they have solved this crime. And they're actually flying to or driving out to Asheville. I don't know if they're driving or flying. I assume they're driving to Asheville to kind of put this stamp on this case. Very fascinating case. And that was a great episode that I think we did about 4 weeks ago with Cameron Santana. But not only is he starting his own true crime podcast as an investigator, because he's a brilliant podcaster, there's a lot of investigators and a lot of ex-cops that are doing true crime. But maybe they're just not that entertaining. Great investigators, but they're just not that entertaining. Santana is not only a fantastic investigator, but he's very entertaining too. And he's well spoken on a microphone. But that's not what I'm talking about right now. You can go and follow the Santana brothers, the True Crime Santana. Can you find me that Instagram handle, or put it in the live chats for me, their Instagram handle, because I want you guys to go follow them on here. But that's not what I want to talk about. What's going on? The big news here is that we are not diving into the Holtzclaw case again, because I did a 3-part series on Daniel Holtzclaw, but we are now going on a campaign to free Daniel Holtzclaw. This is a big undertaking. This is 4 or 5 years of me privately investigating the Holtzclaw case, talking to his relatives, talking to, watching every bit of the trial, watching all of the interviews, watching video footage from the civil trials. And I always wanted to know, I believe in my heart that he is not guilty, not from a clerical standpoint, but not guilty, period. He did not commit this crime. I think it was clear in our 3-part episodes that we did a couple of years ago on Daniel Holtzclaw, but now with the backing of the Santana brothers and Cameron Santana, I think that we have a real shot of building some momentum into getting this case looked at, maybe by the Trump party, but this is going to take an entire Failure to Stop wolf pack. You know, we don't call you guys the wolf pack for nothing. We're going to need help on the wolf pack. So a lot of money's going to have to be raised for this. We're going to be flying out to Oklahoma, try to meet with some of these victims that actually came out and said that they were not victims, that they did lie. And we have some investigative stuff that we've got to do. And that's all going to cost money. But, you know, the thing here is that we're going to start this new Instagram channel for Holtzclaw. It's going to be coming out very soon. There's going to be a big social media push. And so we're not asking you necessarily for money, but we're asking you to be a part of this and to follow it. And to help us with the investigation. If anybody out there has any evidence or has any theory as to why Daniel Holtzclaw is guilty, I need to know. If you value me as a podcaster, as a friend, because nowhere did I want to, and listen, I've been studying this case for 5 years. I haven't found anything, but it's not about my ego. I don't need to be right. I want to be wrong. If Daniel Holtzclaw is guilty, I want to know, and I don't want to waste any time with this. If through this process and this project we find that Holtzclaw is guilty, I will immediately stop and I will tell you guys that he's guilty, and I will go on a new campaign spreading why he is guilty. But I truly believe, with all the information that I've dug through, that this is an innocent man in prison for something he did not do. Not only did he not do it, but this man lived a pure and good life, a very religiously based, morally, ethically correct life. He was completely railroaded, lied against, and it's just awful. It makes me sick to my stomach. The only way I sleep at night with all the information I have about the Daniel Holtzclaw case is because I sleep on a ghost bed. Today's show brought to you by ghostbed.com/wolfpack. Sleep so good, it's scary. If you're a law enforcement officer, if you're a first responder of any kind, sleep is the most important part of your job. Getting a good night's rest is the most important thing, not only for being mentally aware and awake at work doing the world's most dangerous jobs, but also for your mental well-being. Mental health starts with a good night's sleep, and that's why we are so proud to be sponsored by GhostBed. They have the GhostBed pillows, the GhostBed mattresses. They have all the frames. Listen, all these deals are about to come to an end. I think it's in May. I've got some meetings in March. We're doing some new stuff with GhostBed, but these bigger deals are going to go away, and they're rolling out a new campaign. So this is kind of like your last opportunity to get this big 40 to 50% off that we've been doing for a very long time, for like 4 years now for law enforcement. Use the promo code Wolfpack. But guys, these are like lifelong pillows. These are like pillows you buy once and you're probably not going to have to buy another pillow. They're very heavy duty. They have the cooling technology, the mattresses, the massage topper. I do jujitsu. I try to train 3 to 4 days a week, and I try to do Muay Thai 2 to 3 days a week. The massage topper is what keeps me going at 40 years old because I feel old after I do that. So head over to ghostbed.com. Use that promo code Wolfpack. We really, really love them. Okay, next up, let's go through the live chats that we have here. We got a bunch of people in the live chats today, and I know that 99% of our followership is audio listeners. So I know this doesn't pertain to you guys, but if you want to be a part of the live chat, if they're in the live chat, I like to give you the time of day. So Murr530, the Santana Brothers book is in here. Tyler S. M. Lasro Lopez, list goes on. Abby Ellsworth on being a police officer, actually trying to get the Santana boys on Abby Ellsworth's On Being a Police Officer episode. I think that would be a fantastic episode. She's a great interviewer, a great journalist. So, stay tuned to that. We got Bosco Autry up in here. Folk around and find out. Nishkin from across the pond, mate. Good morning, guys. And then we got Jared Ballness. Jared Ballness says, well, I never slept on a ghost bed before. Is it scary? Oh, it's scary good. Scary good, Jarrett. Sleep so good. Ooh, it's scary. Sometimes when I'm sleeping on my ghost bed, I like to think about the old Ghostbusters film. It was a huge fantasy of mine. You know what scene I'm talking about. The end of Ghostbusters. That scene comes to life when you actually lay on a ghost bed. I digress. Today's show is supposed to actually be very, very serious. This is going to be a very serious show. Appreciate you guys sticking around. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with the body camera footage. This is the J6er who was pardoned. If you want to go back 3 weeks ago, this was episode 663, I believe. 663 was the episode that we covered this. And you can go back and you can see that my Tanstradamus predictions were 100% correct on this. Not a conspiracy theory, not some kind of again, this is a guy who has a history of poor life decisions. He makes yet another poor life decision. He gets a second chance after J6. As he said, this was going to be a new look for him, that he's done making mistakes. Well, no, he wasn't. He wasn't done making mistakes. He's going to make a very fatal mistake on this traffic stop. Let's take a look.
Into this situation. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, all right, is I'm going to put your information right here for a sec.
So anyway, if you're out there right now, you're a law enforcement officer and you just want to pick up on some training points on this. Obviously, he's picking at his fingers very vigorously. He's very detached. These are all indicators that he's definitely guilty and he's definitely kind of given up. But what extent is he given up? Is he given up to the extent that he's going to fight you? Is he going to run from you? Is he going to try to kill you? I don't know. But these are all very good indicators that this dude is done. And you should probably, the hairs on your neck should kind of go accordingly. When you start seeing that really heavy picking on the fingers, his head is dropped below his shoulders, he's got that detached tone of voice, that's when you go hands on, that's when you get that real good grip going, because this guy, we don't know, right? This is a kind of like one of those like wounded kind of animal things. Is he going to claw at you? Is he going to scratch you? Or is he, you don't know what he's going to do. So just something to look at, just a little indicator there. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because we covered this case 3 weeks ago. Well, do it. Now he says, I'm going to shoot myself, but it looks like in the blurriness that his shoulders turn. I've watched it in slow motion. It's hard to tell because of the blur. Regardless, this guy's diving into whether he, pointed that gun towards him or not. Am I muted?
Nope, I muted it so you could talk and
sorry about that.
It wouldn't play over here.
I got you. And so it doesn't matter if his shoulders turn towards the cop or not. Reaching for a gun inside of a vehicle like that, no cop's going to let that just go, nor should they. So again, I don't think that this is any kind of conspiracy theory towards a J6er of any kind. I don't think this cop cared, or probably maybe didn't even know about it. This just looks like yet another poor life decision made by Matthew Huddle. And it resulted in his life. If you want the full breakdown on Matthew Huddle's life and all of his previous mistakes, go back and listen to episode 663. Kendall Chubbs says, old gamer tag, just rolled with it. Okay. Learning body language is key to success. Absolutely. Kendall Chubbs, you're right. Reading, it does make police work a lot easier. And your day-to-day work, being able to read body language, indicator-based policing is very, 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 very important. If you're not studying indicators, if you're not practicing picking up on indicators, if you're not doing after-action reviews of your traffic stops and picking up indicators from your uses of force or whatever, you're really doing yourself a disservice, because, a lot of times in these uses of force, you can go back, you can look at how many indicators that you missed, and you're more likely or less likely to miss those on your next one if you're more aware of them. But yeah, very good point. Thanks for bringing that up in the chats. He says he's an 18-year cop from Georgia. Of course he's an 18-year cop, because that's what an 18-year cop knows, stuff like that. Indicator-based policing, very important. Appreciate you being here, Ken Dahl, and thank you for your service. Those Georgia State Trooper boys. Georgia doesn't play. I just watched a video the other night, Georgia pitting a motorcycle. Oh, gosh. Oh, boy. Land of the free, home of the brave. But, I appreciate your service there. Okay, let's get into this Epstein stuff from a law enforcement perspective. You ready for this, everybody? Is everybody ready for this? Yesterday, this whole week, we run the FAWKES News podcast. Shameless plug, go over and follow Fox News, FAWKES News. It's our new news. We used to do it here on Failure to Stop. Now we are just law enforcement here on Failure to Stop. But if you head over to Fox News, we do a very, very good political news breakdown from day to day, almost daily, with sports as well. We've been watching this very closely, this Epstein list. The new administration is in. Pam Bondi, the AG, really coming out with a big promise that this Epstein list was going to be something big. This case goes back to the 90s. Very deep corruption. We covered the Danny Perkins case. And this is hard for me because as a law enforcement officer waiting on this news yesterday, this is hard because I really did feel like some justice was going to happen. And I have to detach myself from the emotions of the case to put this in law enforcement perspective. Let's go back to the Daniel Perkins case, which is a case that we covered here many years ago, 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It was one of the most horrific cases we ever covered on this channel. It's called the Daniel Perkins case. Just to give you a brief overview of what the Daniel Perkins case was, this was it was in Livingston Parish Sheriff's Deputy. That's just outside of New Orleans. He and his wife, Cynthia Perkins, he was a 20-year, 19-year SWAT commander for the Livingston Parish Sheriff's Sheriff's Department. And his wife was a teacher of 14 years. They had a daughter. They had sleepovers where they would they would drug the girls to sleep unbeknownst to them. And he would masturbate onto the sleeping girls, onto their sleeping bags, onto their feet. The wife would give him oral sex and then have him expel himself onto these children. Disgusting. There was terabytes of child pornography. There was bestiality going on with this guy. And it kind of, the big news that made mainstream media was that and the video was collected and the evidence was collected that his wife, Cynthia, would masturbate him into a tube, and then she would take the contents of the tube and inject it into cupcakes that she would serve at the school to 20s, 30s of children and other teachers. Very disgusting and vile case. There was text messages where the wife, Cynthia, if you remember correctly, would go to the locker room and take a girl's cheerleading outfit while she was in PE, and then she would bring it outside to his car. He would masturbate onto it, then she would go and hang it back up into the locker. Eric, you're being very, very graphic. Why? Well, because I had to read it. And it made me emotional, and you should have to read it because it's going to play into this Epstein thing, because it's important that we know the totality of this as law enforcement officers. You have to know that, in the police department, in the academy, and in my book, Pig Latin, a seriously funny true story, I even mentioned in the first chapter about my use of the N-word in the book. I had to put the N-word in the book because the N-word sparks emotion. And when you're a law enforcement officer and you're emotionally charged, you're going to make emotionally charged decisions. And so the reader has to know that as well, right? The use of the N-word is important, and that's why it should be used in a paramilitary style boot camp academy. You should want to know how your officers are going to react when they hear that word. Black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. That's why it's important to know the totality of these things, the emotional part of this, because that is part of the Epstein case. Now, this Denny Perkins case, when we broke it down, we reached out to the department for Denny Perkins case. I even talked to one of his partners. Now, guys, within hours of researching this case, by the way, the Denny Perkins case happened in 2000. I think I want to say he got arrested in like 2020 or something like that, 2019. I can't remember when, but it wasn't really that old, right? October 2019 is when he got arrested. Okay. October 2019 is when this all came to a head. So in 2020, when I was covering this case, I was in hours, not days, not months, in hours, I was able to see his polygraph test from the first police department that he got kicked out of. I was able to get the polygraph from the Livingston one. I was able to get the oral board notes where one of the notes in pencil off to the side says this guy has no business being in law enforcement. They still hired him somehow, even though one of the people on the oral board wrote this guy has no business being on the board, and he lied on his polygraph about sexual deviancies that came up on his polygraph. Still got hired. Still was a commander of a SWAT team. Served for over 19 years. Now, this guy and his wife is a teacher as well. They had been doing these since like 2002. They had been molesting children of all kinds. Many, 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 many children. We were able to get all of the evidence, the search warrant, what was collected at the search warrant in gross, disgusting detail. These victims were under 12 years old. The only redactions, if you remember in that case, the only redactions were the names and addresses of the minors. Everything else was in disgusting detail about how they were raped, the bestiality with the dog licking the one girl and all these, like all of it was there. And it didn't take us but a couple of hours to get all of the information of a school teacher and a police officer who did vile things, equally as vile as Jeffrey Epstein. And we were able to get everything with very little redactions and only a couple of hours. And I remember saying on that show, we could not even use the word Epstein without being demonetized. As you guys know, that YouTube channel, that our original YouTube channel, the big one with Mike the Cop, was completely demonetized, and we had to start completely over. And we've never really recovered from that. And that was because mainly of talking about Jeffrey Epstein and Hillary Clinton and all the things that was going on in 2020. Even now, as I bring up Epstein and I say his name a few times, I can see the numbers dropping on YouTube right now. Like I literally just watched it drop about 11, right? It's the most interesting part of the podcast. We lose now it's 12, 13, 14 loss. You know, is that YouTube? I don't know. Am I just that boring? I don't know. So if we go back to the Epstein case, if you remember that this all started in the late 90s, and the FBI, the Palm Beach Police Department, when they were approached by a 14-year-old girl who accused, now this was in 2005, accused Jeffrey Epstein of diddling her, of not diddling her. I'm sorry. He accused her of hiring her to do massages that ended up in sexual favors during the massage. 14 years old. Parents came forward. He was actually found, he was indicted by a grand jury. The Palm Beach Police Department handed the case over to the FBI. Instead of trying Epstein at the state level, which the feds didn't take control of the Denny Perkins case, by the way. Loosely, they did. But he was tried and convicted in the state of Louisiana. They turned it over to the FBI, and his charges were dropped to a minor prostitution charge where he served a jail sentence of 13 months. However, he was on work release and was able to go home every single day. He just had to sleep at the jail or the prison, wherever it was, which was low security. So here we have a man found guilty. The case was turned over to the feds, and the feds, instead of going through and doing a full-on investigation of all of the allegations, they charge him with a minor, very minor, and he's a sex offender. They made him be a sex offender at that time. By the way, the FBI is being sued from another victim and from a 1999 case that the FBI just completely dropped the ball on altogether. And that family is suing the FBI involving the Epstein case. So this has been in the hands of the feds since the 90s. And my question, and all of the questions is always should be why, right? We always say why. It's bizarre that we can charge somebody and give out all the information when it's a cop and a teacher, but when it's a financier, a rich businessman financier, we can't give out any information. Now, it's also very important from a law enforcement perspective to understand that what happened this week is kind of vile and disgusting. I don't really like what Pam Bondi did. You know, some people think that maybe she's playing 4D chess. We were giving this case, this horrific case, and this is why I brought up Denny Perkins' case in gory detail, because this is the kind of stuff that was probably going on with the Epstein girls. And I'm gonna go into other allegations about the victims where he was being charged in France, and a couple of other suspects that were on this list that we're gonna go over here very shortly. All of this has to play. It was all the same. Daniel Perkins' case, it's all the same as the Epstein case. The difference is that somehow the Epstein case is 100% being covered up, and has been covered up since the 90s. And they are still playing games with you. And Pam Bondi is now in on this. And is Donald Trump in on it too? I'm not sure. But I'll tell you that the spectacle that was made this week is vile and disgusting. And it almost turned this into a clown show circus, almost like some kind of a true crime, a bored housewife game, to where we're giving books to influencers of a case that's extremely redacted. Extremely redacted. Here's a picture for you. Extremely redacted information that we were given. We have a letter from Pam Bondi that wasn't really a letter. So what was it? The letter that she wrote at the front of this binder was not a letter. Why would she need to write a letter to Kash Patel when she was with him all day the prior day? So she's with Kash Patel all day. She goes home that night and writes him this letter? Josh, let me take a break from talking. Read me the letter. Read me this letter. Do you think that this was necessary, or is this not a letter? Is this a threat? Go ahead.
Dear Director Patel, before you came in the office, I requested full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response to this request, I received approximately 200 pages of documents, which consisted primarily of flight logs, Epstein's list of contacts, a list of victims' names and phone numbers. I repeatedly questioned whether this was the full set of documents responsive to my request, and was repeatedly assured by the FBI that we received the full set of documents. Late yesterday, I learned from a source that the FBI field office in New York was in possession of thousands of pages and documents relating to the investigation and indictment of Epstein. Despite my repeated requests, the FBI never disclosed the existence of these files. When you and I spoke yesterday, you were just as surprised as I was to learn of this new information. By 8 a.m. tomorrow, February 28th, the FBI will deliver full and complete Epstein files logs to my office, including records, documents, audio and video recordings, and materials relating to Jeffrey Epstein and his clients. Regardless of how much of this information was obtained, there will be no withholding or limitations to my access of your access. The Department of Justice will ensure that any public disclosure of these files will be done in a manner to protect the privacy of the victims in accordance with law, as I've done with my entire career as a prosecutor. I'm also directing you to conduct an immediate investigation into why my order from the FBI was not followed. You will deliver to me a complete and comprehensive report of your findings and propose personnel actions within 14 days. I appreciate your immediate action to this important matter. I know that we are both committed to transparency for the American people, and I look forward to continuing your work with you to serve as our president in our country. Pam Bondi, Attorney General.
So obviously it's not a letter that she wrote to Kash Patel. That was a statement that she wanted the American public to know. My question here from a law enforcement side of things is, if this was an ongoing investigation and there was really an investigation going on, none of this would happen. None of this would be happening right now. There would be no social media influencers with binders with redacted information. There would be no weird, ominous letter, quote unquote. That's not a letter to Kash Patel. That was a statement that she wanted to go public under the guise of making it a letter to Kash Patel, I guess. What's going on with the FBI right now is we have a rogue FBI. And that's the whole point of today's show, is I'm showing you the Denny Perkins case, and I'm showing you the Epstein case, and I'm showing you the differences on how law enforcement typically does these things and how somebody is prosecuted, and the information that's given to the public. We saw that with the Denny. That is the norm. And what you are getting is not the norm. What you are getting is a very deep state, very vile, very disgusting Department of Justice cover-up on a case that should make everybody's blood boil. And we did not vote Donald Trump. And I say we, the millions of people that voted for him, did not vote for Donald Trump because of the Epstein list. That wasn't one of the things that he was even running on. This is a side circus. This is a side show. Of course, we all want justice for the Epstein list, but what we want even more is, lower inflation and all those things. So why does Donald Trump, his team, Pam Bondi, why do they feel the need to really kind of lie to us this week about this, grandiose releasing of the Epstein documents, which was absolutely nothing except a whole bunch of redactions that mean absolutely nothing. And no internet sleuth is going to put 2 and 2 together. It's all the stuff that we already know. And then she comes out with this very ominous letter. Now, either are they trying to kick the hornet's nest and we're trying to get this thing going? That I don't know. But from a law enforcement perspective, if this is any law enforcement related and they have any aspirations of making an arrest, getting an indictment or anything like that, this would be the Hail Mary, I guess, because it doesn't happen. This is not how police investigations work. This is not how they go. By the way, if you remember, a lot of people don't know this, but one of the bigger names that you see on the list that's not redacted time and time again is this list, Jean-Luc Brunel, who is a French designer of, one of the clothes designers, but he was, quote unquote, according to Ghislaine Maxwell, kind of Jeffrey Epstein's pimp. And he was caught trying to flee France to another country. He was arrested at the airport and he committed suicide in jail shortly after. 1 year after Epstein killed himself. How do you think he killed himself? How do you think Jean-Luc Brunel, the pimp of Jeffrey Epstein, which they don't talk about that here in the United States, the pimp of Jeffrey Epstein, but you go to any foreign news outlet and you look up Jean-Luc Brunel, Jeanluc Brunel, and you will see tons of articles about him being the pimp of the Lolita airline and Jeffrey Epstein. And this guy is arrested and the next night commits suicide by hanging in a Paris jail. See what I'm saying here? Oh, and then the cameras in that jail didn't work either, by the way. Huh, right? So what we have here, guys, is this isn't a game. This isn't a social media handbook game. The same things that Denny Perkins did, Jeffrey Epstein and all of his friends were doing the same disgusting, vile shit to children. And we are making a mockery of the case, making it some kind of over-political thing. Meanwhile, we have an FBI in the state of New York who is doing everything they can, these ideologues that are doing everything that they can to thwart the efforts of releasing information about Jeffrey Epstein, yet nobody did anything not to release the same information about Denny Perkins. Do you get what I'm saying, guys? Are you hearing me right now? Forget what all your other internet fucking influencers and fancy from a law enforcement perspective. Do you not see what you law enforcement officer that swore your oath, that goes out, that cares, that loves children, that has empathy for victims, who really cares about their job and the work that goes into their job? Do you understand what I'm saying right now? That there are law enforcement officers in New York City that are doing everything they can to hide the same thing that Denny Perkins did, but with the fucking 12-year-old, 13, 14-year-old children that you guys all raged over 2 years ago when I did that story. And there are law enforcement officers that swore the same goddamn oath that you did that are hiding and redacting and hiding evidence of this case. And I'm sorry to be emotional. I've been following this all fucking week, man. How do you not care? How did we get to a fucking goddamn binder in the hands of a minorly famous influencers, whatever the fuck that means? It's a fucking joke, man. Like, I don't know how we don't care and how this got so political. Just go and read the Denny Perkins case, and whatever feelings you get from a man being masturbated onto a sleeping girl, a 12-year-old girl's feet, whose parents trusted them to go to a law enforcement officer's and a school teacher's house for a sleepover, only to be drugged and jerked off onto. Whatever that makes you feel, that sick shit that makes you feel, that's what's going on with Epstein, and law enforcement officers are covering it up. And that's not a conspiracy theory. That is a conspiracy fact. And if your head is in the sand about everything that the FBI has been doing with this case since the 90s, then you should be ashamed of yourself. I don't know what else to say about this case, but I was furious last night once I saw the file, the drops file, because this is stuff that we already knew. And we've been talking about this and demonetized over this. By the way, this Ken Doll Chubbs wants to know what happened to Mike the Cop. You know, I was with Mike the Cop last week in Michigan. We did jujitsu together. Actually, we were in Toledo, Ohio, doing some content together. We're still really good friends. After our Denny Perkins case, after talking about Epstein, after talking about the FBI's and the Haitian children tied to the Hillary Clinton Foundation, we were demonetized. And our channel was, and the channel that was making all of the money, that paid for all the stuff that we were doing, that also was a big part of the deal that we had with Drinking Bros, all that was lost. And so there was no money to really pay Mike anymore, because a big chunk of the money that made all this worth it was the money that we got from YouTube. We got the audio money came from the Drinking Bros. The YouTube money came from Mike the Cop's channel. When we lost 3/4 of the money, you know, Mike couldn't justify the time away from his real estate company. And so he signed the show over to me. Drinking Bros did the same thing. It was very hard for Drinking Bros to, you know, once I don't have the following that Mike had, which was over 1 million followers, you know, that the ad money greatly decreases. And so it was kind of like one of those things where I went off, you know, kind of on my own. But here's the great thing is Drinking Bros gave me the show that they created. They named the show. They had all the copyrights to the show. They gave it to me. They didn't sell it to me. It was worth a lot of money. They gave it to me because they're good people. Ross Patterson is a really good person. I mean, he's crazy, he's wild, and he has his persona. But I know him personally, and I think, you know, at the inside, deep down, he's not the piece of shit that he leads you on that to be. I know he likes to make people think that he's you know, some kind of wild guy. No, he's a very kind man. He's a very fair man, and he gave me the show. And Mike the Cop also gave me the show. So I'll never not have respect for Drinking Bros. Matter of fact, Jessie Weissman is reading my book right now. She sent me a really nice text message about the book. So I'm still good friends with all of them. I saw Jessie and them in Texas at the Office Joe show premiere, which is really fun because a lot of the people that were in Range 15 are in the Office Joe show. So it was really cool to kind of see all the cast and crew, from Tim Kennedy to Nick Palmisano and just all the guys. So, but you know, we lost all of that from the Dennis Perkins case because we brought up the Epstein case during that episode. So the same people that are doing all this crazy, disgusting, vile shit are covering it up and demonetizing people. So, you know, that's where I'm at with this Epstein list. And I just want you to know that there are FBI agents in New York that are covering up for Jeffrey Epstein and for a government a shadow government that, you know, I'm not going to go, I'm not a conspiracy. I'm telling you now that it is a fact that there is a shadow government. The fact that the AG can't go in and get this information from the FBI, that the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, can't get these documents from the FBI, shows you that they are not answering to Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, and that they are answering to somebody who is trying to cover up the vile, disgusting dog shit that Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Jean-Luc Brunel was involved in. And the list is just a list. I read through the whole entire contacts list, and it means absolutely nothing. Barbara Walters is on there. You think Barbara Walters was somehow involved in diddling children? I doubt it. Let me read some of the other names that were that are on the list. You know, Alec Baldwin, the Duchess of fucking York, Chris Rock, David Blaine, Mick Jagger, Barbara Walters, Prime Minister of Israel. I mean, the list is hundreds and hundreds of people. I think just because you're on a list doesn't make you guilty, doesn't make you innocent, but like it means nothing. It just makes it to politicize it. Oh, Donald Trump's on it. Yeah. Well, the funny thing about the whole Donald Trump is on there is every time Donald Trump is on the flight logs, which was in the very early 90s, actually, he's on there with his wife and his children, to include Eric Trump. Eric Trump would have been very young back then, but so every time Donald Trump appears, it's only a couple of times, he's with his whole family. So I don't know if he was doing anything nefarious with his family on the plane. That would be weird. But there's but going back to this John Luke Burnell, who's on the list almost as much as everybody else. Prince Andrew was on there a lot, but Brunel was the subject. This is coming from Wikipedia. Brunel was the subject of a 7-month investigation by CBS producer Craig Pace and reporter Diane Sawyer for 60 Minutes. The investigative segment American Models in Paris, which aired on October 1988, covered the conduct of Brunel and fellow Parisian modeling agent Claude Haddad. Several American models who worked with Brunel were interviewed by 60 Minutes and described their experience of the culture Brunel fostered, where the models were routinely drugged and sexually abused. Danny Perkins much? You get what I'm saying, guys? Now do you know why I went into all that nasty detail about Danny Perkins? Because I want you to know that the same shit that was going on with Epstein was going on with Danny Perkins, and we know everything about Danny Perkins. On 16 December 2020, Brunel was intercepted by police at Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris as he was about to board a flight to Dakar, Senegal. He was then placed under garde à vue custody for questioning in relation to rape, sexual assault, criminal conspiracy, and human trafficking, with all the allegations involving minors. Brunel was charged on 29 June 2021 for drugging and raping a 17-year-old girl. Brunel said he was innocent. On February 19th, 2020, was found dead in his jail cell in La Santa prison, allegedly hanging himself. Now, this is the guy who was Jeffrey Epstein's pimp, the pimp of Jeffrey Epstein. Most of you guys have never even heard of that name. And you didn't know that he hung himself in prison and the cameras weren't working. Interesting. Sorry about this, guys. I think that if you are going to pay attention to the Epstein case, I want you to file an Epstein case. But I think more importantly, if you're a law enforcement officer, you should be thinking of what we should be doing as law enforcement officers to shed light that our own brothers, I don't know if you guys are making social media posts, but maybe we should be making posts. Why are other law enforcement officers hiding the disgusting and crazy shit that Jeffrey Epstein did? Why are you, a law enforcement officer, hiding and redacting information leading to the Epstein? Who owns you? Who owns you? How do you sleep at night? Can we have a trial for these FBI agents trying to cover up Jeffrey Epstein? Like, remember how much you guys hated the guys in Uvalde? Where is the hate for the FBI agents that are literally hiding the evidence of minors being violated over and over and over again by our rich elitists? Where is your outrage? You want to be emotionally vested in something. Why are you not emotionally invested in the most emotionally important case in the news today? You want something to fight for? I can't think of a greater cause to fight for than this. Get me started again, man. It's been an emotional roller coaster. I have 5 fucking kids. Let one of my kids have happened to Jeffrey Epstein, and there would be that movie Taken. That's how I would be, but it would be like Man on Fire. I'd be Denzel Washington, but I would be in fucking New York, and there would be FBI agents stacking up. If that was one of my children involved in one of these cases, I'd be stacking FBI. Ken Dahlchub says they turn their head and just pretend it doesn't happen. Their livelihood is more important than their integrity. So yeah, I mean, like, who owns your freedom, man? Is it your pension that owns your freedom? Oh, I don't want to get fired. My pension's more important. I'll just get the jab and I'll enforce jab laws that I know are unconstitutional. But I'm a slave to my pension. That's more important to me than being honorable. Boy, I hope none of those cops had the death before dishonor tattoo. Huh. That's what I always say. If you knew that the jab was bad and you got it anyway, I hope you never fucking wear any Brovet apparel ever again, because you are not that guy. You're a fucking sellout and you're a coward. If you knew, if you were questioning, if you're like, well, I don't know, I'm just going to get it because like it seems like the right thing to do. But if you knew in your heart of hearts that you should not get the thing and you chose to do it because you did it to save your pension, you are a fucking coward. Don't wear any Brovitz shit anymore. And don't give me shit about your family or any of that other bullshit. Because you know you could get another job the next fucking day. Might not be the job you want, but you gave up your freedom for a pension. You're a coward. Get the fuck out. Don't wear your stupid Brovitz shit anymore. And if you try to enforce any of these laws on anybody, the same goes for you, but worse. Murphy 30 says SDNY was the office that protested and resigned as soon as Trump charges were dropped. That is believable that they are interfering, but Pam B should not have overpromised. It turned into a mess. 100% correct. You know, I mean, that is it. By the way, Dennis Perkins, 60 counts is what Deadleg says in the chats.
Well, what's crazy is Larry Nasser, something we didn't bring up, 156 victims in that case.
Jeez.
That made national news. He did similar things to his people that he was supposed to be coaching to make them better gymnastics. The other thing is when you Google to find out how many victims Epstein has, they don't know a number. That's how high, that's how many victims there are. So you want to get angry, you want to get outraged, look at your niece, look at your daughter, look at your sister, look at anybody in your family and think if they were a victim of Jeffrey Epstein and have had to listen to the news media and listen to an agency that's supposed to be there to protect you. The FBI is supposed to be there to investigate, to help you. They are supposed to be what's there. When you call 911 and it gets that bad, the FBI comes in, and now you have the Attorney General. She answers to the President of the United States, and that's it. And the American people. She said, release this. The FBI said, release this. Now you have all these people within the FBI are like, okay, well, who do we really answer to? I don't know if it's a big 4D chess, but it could be a 4D chess. This is one quick, easy way to show who's stopping this. Because if we're saying open the floodgates, you just stand there and watch, find out who's not opening the floodgates. And just, okay, why are you protecting these people?
Yeah.
Why are you now culpable in these acts?
Yeah.
You can be found guilty of a crime after the fact, even if you weren't there, because you are helping protect and helping cover things up. I don't know if you guys remember a big famous Dog the Bounty Hunters. He was found guilty of murder. He didn't pull the trigger, but he knew after the fact and was there and didn't do anything. These are FBI agents are now after the fact actively circumventing an elected government. You want to talk about January 6th? This is going on right between your eyes right now. I don't think that it was a big, I don't agree with having all the social media people come there and the binders. And if you're going to have a big publicity stunt, you better have a big publicity stunt. And if this is some big 4D chess, like we're playing in the week, the other thing is like the media cycle, we're playing into the week. Today's Friday. By Monday, whatever we're talking about, it's going to be old news.
Yep. Guys, if you want more news as it comes out, follow us on Fox News. It's our new channel. We would love to have you over there. We do segments anywhere from 10 minutes to 30 minutes to an hour all week long on the biggest news. We try to give you an objective look at what's going on, kind of the bigger picture, a little bit of independent journalism that we do over there. If you guys have not pre-ordered my book, Pig Latin, a seriously funny true story. It is a hardcover coming out. This is an editor's edition, but the book is right now we're trending number 32 on Amazon wish list. We are trending number 1 on LEO new releases, even though the book doesn't come out. Nick Palmachano and I are really going for the New York Times bestseller. Of course, that's what every author's dream is. But we are, I've got a 1%, less than 1% author deal with Simon Schuster, and I really want to show them that I'm good for the book deal that they gave me. And before that marketing starts, which it starts in June, I'm trying to get as many as I can personally. And anybody that if you buy my book, pre-order it, and you send me your address to your home, I will sign a bookmark, a Pig Latin bookmark with characters from Pig Latin in it, a bookmarker, and I will send you a signed autographed bookmarker to your house. All you have to do is give me a pre-order, send me a screenshot that you pre-ordered the book and your address to your home, and I will send it. Also, the audio version is now up for sale as well. So you can now purchase the audio book, which is really exciting too. It'll be read by me, and it professionally read by me. So we start doing that in next month, which is really fun, but you can go ahead and buy it now. Jonathan Bates did all of the artwork for all of our illustrations. You can follow him on Instagram at Difficult to Look Out Pictures. I think that's, or you go back to Jonathan Bates. He changes it every once in a while. You can find them. He's a mutual follower of me, and I'm a mutual follower of him. So, yes, these are really cool bookmarkers. Nice heavy cards, like, they're real thick. They'll last you a good long time, and they'll be signed and in the mail. So thank you for everybody who, I stand correct is his handle now. She says, Abby Ellsworth says that it was difficult to look at pictures, and then it was John Bates. Now it's now it's I stand correct. Does the audio go towards bestseller too? Yes. All of it goes towards the bestseller list. I think you get like, they're not really, they're transparent on what it takes to make the New York Times bestseller list. I know that if I sell about 800 more books at this point, I will be number one, probably going into fall releases already. Like I'll have more pre-sales than any other book coming out for that time period, I think. So at least that's the, that's the number now. So, the number they gave me was like, I'm trying to catch up to Scottie Pippen's pre-sales. I don't know why they came up with Scottie Pippen as my goal to chase, but I'm in on it. I saw his number and I'm about 800 behind what he pre-sold. So I think it'd be really cool to say I pre-saled the same or more than Scottie Pippen's book. So that's really exciting. And that's all from you guys, man. I really, really appreciate you guys, man. It's really, really nice of you guys to be buying the books. So, Naishkin says 800. I can't order that, but I will order some more. No, you don't have to order any more, Naishkin. There's plenty of people out there. We haven't even started the ad campaign yet. So, I think we're going to crush it because, I'm only doing the ads myself. Simon Schuster hasn't even started the ad campaign. Nick hasn't started his, Diesel Jack Media hasn't started the paid campaigns. Yeah, this is literally just based off of my following. So, which, it's pretty magical, man, because, when they talk about influencers and I talked to, Conservative Anthony and Blake Reynolds, and I talked to Jessica Sutta, and I talked to like a lot of other people here and there. And what's really special is for our followership, the group that we have for Failure to Stop, you guys have always produced at a very, very high percentage. Like I think our percent is like 80% return rate, meaning that like 80% of our followers spend money here, which is wild, which is so wild. Every time I meet every quarter with GhostBed and I see how many ghost beds we sell in pillows and the sheets and everything, I'm just like, yo, that's so crazy that many people listen to this show and then go and order ghost beds and pillows, man. It's like, dude, it means the world to me, man. It's so cool. And that's what keeps our sponsorship going year after year. I guess we start a campaign with Shieldbox, but you can already use the promo code Wolfpack. But we start that campaign in March, so that's really nice to have them on board with us. So Shieldbox is there. Folk around and find out. Says she sent $1.99. She says, if I pre-order, can I upgrade to a hardcover? Yeah, they're all a hardcover. Folk around and find out. If you pre-ordered a book, it's a hardcover. They're not soft. This is only a soft cover because it's an editor's copy. But these won't come out for another year. What comes out in August are hardcovers. And then a year later, for cheaper, they'll release these. So does that make sense? Is it too late for the email list? It is not, but you need to DM me or private message me your email and I'll put you on the list. And this is not a spam email list. It's a very special email list. I think there will be what I do for the email list is I've broken it into 5. So you're only on a list of 5 people at a time so that it can't get hacked. And if it does get hacked, it's only like 1 of 5 people. And you're not going to, like, if somebody accidentally hits reply all, right? It's like if I put 300 people on an email list, the chance of 10 people hitting reply all is a lot greater than if I just do it in groups of 5. That way, if somebody replies all only, on accident, it's not ruining 300 people's day. I don't like email lists myself personally. So I'm trying to treat this as if it's an email list that I would want to be a part of, where it's only like very special, very pertinent information that I'm trying to directly talk to you guys individually. And that's why that first email I sent out was extremely personal. And that was just to those who sent it, because, you mean the world to me. Like, you want to have an email from me. I want it to be a very special fucking email. And I spent a lot of time writing that email. And then I also inputted all 300 plus of your names into the email without copy. Like, I didn't just copy and paste the whole 300 or whatever. Like, I went through each individual name so that I could see all of you guys and just kind of like be like, oh, well, there's so-and-so, Abby Ellsworth. Oh gosh, she's been following for blah, blah, blah years, it's so crazy. And oh, there's Marine's Bloodbath. So I really do appreciate, the support over the years for everything you guys have done for Failure to Stop and now with Fox News. So that's all the news for today, guys. We will be, Josh, did you put something out on Patreon today, this week?
I will be recording that this afternoon. We can I'll tease a little bit more because we're going to put it out. So there's been some military buildup, and it was under the Biden administration and started actually under the Trump administration back then. So there's a lot of military buildup around the world that we have with our military bases. And then there was some action in the Australian waters on the east side of Australia last weekend. China was out there doing some live fire exercises, and at least 46 different aircraft changed their flight path due to their live fire exercise that nobody knew about. They didn't tell anybody. It was just reported back to the Australian authorities by an airplane that had intercepted was intercepted with radio traffic from one of these Chinese Navy ships, contacted the airline and said, hey, just heads up, we're shooting live fire for the next 300 nautical miles from this position. And they relayed that back to Australia, and they had no idea that this was going on.
Yeah, so basically, it's really cool. He's got the flight pattern. This is on our Patreon, extra content for the Patreon guys. But this is like some shit like back in World War II stuff, where it's like they have an island, they keep it hidden, They're doing military base. So anyway, Josh is through our independent journalism, our investigative journalism that we've been having a lot of fun with on Fox News. He uncovered this. He's been putting together for a couple of weeks. We think it's going to be a really good, fun Patreon episode. And that's kind of our goal too, is like really get you guys more Patreon content going forward. I'm actually starting a new show on our Patreon all about parenting. That'll start next week. So if you're not a part of our Patreon, you want to be a part of Patreon and you want some parenting stuff about homeschooling and unschooling, what it's like raising 5 kids, 3 of them sponsored skateboarders, join our Patreon. I think it's like what, $2.99 a month or something like that. Less than a cup of coffee.
Yep.
Less than a cup of coffee a month, and it supports this show and all the things that we're doing. So head over to our Patreon, Failure to Stop Patreon, and join today. That all starts off next week. So we're really excited. Everything's kind of fallen into place as of late. And we're having a lot of fun on this channel, and we appreciate everybody. We will see you next week with a big case breakdown. Also coming soon, the Daniel Holtzclaw, free Daniel Holtzclaw. Start getting yourselves amped up for that. We're going to do a huge campaign. You don't have to pay money to be a part of this campaign, but what we do want is for everybody to share, and follow what we are doing, because this could happen to literally any law enforcement officer. This was the wrong place at the wrong time, and he's now doing 200 plus years in prison for a crime that he didn't even come close to committing. So very scary stuff. And not only did he not commit these crimes, but he is a really good all-around person that no one had anything negative to say about. And so please help us out as we try to free Daniel Holtzclaw. That'll be our hashtag, is hashtag free Daniel Holtzclaw, or just free Holtzclaw. Let's do that. Hashtag free Holtzclaw. We'll get that done up. We'll have the free Holtzclaw Instagram and Facebook coming out very soon. And this whole series, this whole big giant deep dive of freeing Daniel Holtzclaw. And we're going to spell out why you should be involved in this case and we will prove to you his innocence. And again, if anybody can prove his guilt or show me just evidence, like real good, solid evidence that he committed this crime, I will drop what I'm doing and I won't have anybody waste their time. I've been studying this case for over 5 years now, and I have not found one single shred of evidence that points to the guilt of Daniel Holtzclaw. So hashtag free Holtzclaw is our mission going forward for 2025. Thank you again for everybody being here. Make sure you check out Abby Ellsworth on Being a Police Officer podcast. She's got some really cool guests coming up, to include Santana. So that's great. Yes, she says that this is important work, and I have a feeling that Abby is going to be instrumental with her investigative, her journalistic skills to help us, and her network of people to help us. And this is just something that we really want to do, just because it makes us sick to our stomach that there's a law enforcement officer that is innocent that's serving 250 years for political purposes. Santana Brother Book says, victim, I don't know if he did it or not. Daniel got 16 years for that victim, when she quoted in trial that she don't know if he did it or not. Yes, and one of them was high on PCP and admits to that during the trial, and yet her statement still stood. It's crazy. Just Rhonda says, hello, failure stop. Just getting a chance to drop in and see what's up. Well, thank you, Rhonda, for just dropping in, seeing what's up. It was a very crazy episode today, emotional episode, so just stick with it if you go back and listen to it. So hang in there. Follow us over at FAWKES News on YouTube, guys. Until next time, guns up, giddy up. Take us out of here, Josh.
See ya.